wondered what happens to you or your loved one when you're removed from your home by the funeral director? And could you have stayed at home a little bit longer, giving the family a chance to say goodbye? Hello, my name is Lisa Herbert from the Bottom Drawer book, The After Death Action Plan. I sat down with Kelly Scott and we chatted about all sorts of things, and it's pretty handy that Kelly is the president of the Australian Funeral Directors Association.
How do we know our person, when we hand them over to a funeral director, is being cared for in the way we expect them to be cared for?
Thanks, Lisa, and such an important and probably critical question, I think. First of all, the Australian Funeral Directors Association helps members to raise our professional standards. We want every family in the country to experience a positive funeral. And what I mean by that is, in the midst of tragic death and sadness and trauma, people can have a positive experience out of that. And because that means they're in control, things are transparent, they can ask the questions they need to ask, and they can really be active in making sure they organise a farewell for a loved one that's appropriate for them. And that's a different thing for everyone. Everyone wants something different. So we offer our members lots of training, education. We actually regulate in an industry that isn't regulated. We come under certain legislation with births, deaths and marriages, the coroners, all those sorts of things. But in actual fact, anyone can be a funeral director if they've got a vehicle in a garage. There's no legislation to say where a deceased has to be kept. So I really would encourage people to ask what premises their funeral director has, where their loved one is kept. They are questions you have an absolute right to know. And I think that's where it's really important to feel comfortable with the funeral director that you decide on, because where your loved one is held, how they're looked after, to me, that's the fundamental thing that we do and the most important thing that we do. The funeral arranging on top of that is secondary to our care of a loved one. So we regulate with our members our premises, our vehicles and our equipment, as well as we have to do continued professional development to maintain our membership. And we look after around 65% of the funerals Australia-wide in every state and territory. So we're the largest organisation. So we must have certain standards to be members so that families know they're entrusted care and that we have certain levels of standards that we must adhere to.
Where does somebody go when the funeral director picks them up, be it from a hospital or from the house?
So all AFDA members must provide mortuary facilities. So that means to keep someone in care for a length of time, and we usually do now with people travelling from overseas and interstate, we can often have someone in our care for a week, 2 weeks, and even longer. So to be able to provide that and keep them safe and just slow down the process following death so it allows families to come together with their loved one, you need refrigeration and or embalming facilities. So usually when someone contacts a funeral director, their loved one is taken to the mortuary premises of that funeral director. So they might have a centralised mortuary if they're a bigger firm, or say with us, we're in regional Victoria, so they come to our main chapel area and we have mortuary facilities there.
So you mentioned a big holding facility. How big are these holding facilities? How many bodies would the biggest one in Australia hold, for example?
Oh, that's actually a good question. Probably the largest is the Coroner's Court of Victoria. They would have the largest holding facility. So it would depend on the funeral director and their size, and if they do embalming and offer refrigeration or embalming. So if a person is fully embalmed, they don't require refrigeration, but not everyone has that facility or they don't want that facility. Embalming is done for a variety of reasons. One for restoration, preservation, and presentation. So it can make a huge difference to spending time with a loved one, particularly if they'd like their loved one at home with them. Sometimes that offers that choice for a longer period of time. You can keep people in your home for a length of time, just keeping them very cool. We've been doing that. Our business is 85 years old. So that's how our business started. It's very much, we were, I guess, more of that undertaking purpose. The community looked after the funeral itself. We provided a very perfunctory service. And now, of course, we organise very different sorts of events that aren't based around religion as much as they used to be all those years ago. So keeping someone home is absolutely a perfectly good option for families. And sometimes we offer a little bit of both. Sometimes they'll be kept at home for a little period so families can be around their loved one. But at such a point that they really do need to come into care, and then we look after them from that point. So sometimes it's a combination of both, depending on the time frame. I think the most important thing I'd say at this point is there's no rush to make decisions to organise a funeral director, because a loved one can be kept at home. And I think that's a really crucial and sometimes a really special time not to feel rushed, waiting for family members to get to that point so they can spend some time with them. And that might be hours, it might be overnight. So usually sometimes families will ring and say, oh, the nursing homes told us to ring you. I said, now has everyone spent some, oh, no, we haven't even rang them yet. I said, look, please wait, take your time, ring everyone that you need to, see if anyone wants to come in and spend that time now. Then when you are ready, call us, then we will come and transfer your loved one into our care, if that's what you'd like us to do, or we can help provide some information about keeping them at home a little bit longer, which often people like to do as well.
You don't know what you don't know, right? A big thanks to Kelly Scott, President of the Australian Funeral Directors Association. It's all about information sharing, giving you the knowledge and the confidence to ask the questions you need to ask. And there's lots more information in the bottom drawer book, the After Death Action Plan. It's a pretty cheery, colourful, modern funeral planning workbook and guide. For more information, thebottomdrawerbook.com.au. And for more videos in this series, keep an eye on my Facebook page, The Bottom Drawer Book on Facebook.